Hit the deck, first to the floor, making every big play for the Celtics today. Tatum knocks it away, trying to get it, dives. What a play by Dave Coward. Watch him dive for the ball right here. Look at this hustle.
Wayne Spooney here with First to the Floor. I am riddled with COVID here, so I apologize. I will try to keep the sniffling to a minimum, but I've got my guy Jake Eisenberg here with me. What's up, Jake?
You've got your Jake here with you.
It's the brain fog,
No,
man. The COVID brain fog.
You had it right. No, we're good. Apologies for the 3-minute delay for everybody watching live to get my toilet to stop running. We're on water tanks where I live, and we ran out of water. We got a delivery of water, so I have water again, which is great. But now I'm like hyper vigilant. I'm like, this thing's got to stop immediately. I'm not paying for water. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we're here. One more day, Spoonie, and the boys are back.
We're back finally, and we're going to jump into it here. A couple of good things that Jake completely came up with that I'm riding the back of. But real quick, before we dive in, like and subscribe, please. We just hit 3,000 subs, which is really awesome.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the likes. Please keep them coming. Now on to 5K. Playbacks are back for the month of March. So Celtics blog, playback.tv/Celtics blog. Jake and a rotating cast of who's who of Celtics blog writers and First to the Floor guys will be in there. So definitely check those out for every single Celtics game. Playback.tv/Celtics blog. And then I have a big piece coming out on Jaylen Brown's defense and whether he deserves to be all NBA defense. I think dropping tomorrow, so definitely check that out. So, okay, the meat of this episode, we are going to rank our Eastern Conference fear rankings for the playoffs. Nobody cares. The regular season's over as far as I'm concerned, right?
Seriously.
This is just the runway. But first, I think what makes the most sense is let's talk about what it is the formula is to beat the Celtics, and then we can jump into the fear rankings and say, hey, what teams do this best, or why are we scared of this team? So real quick, Jake, before I toss to you, a couple quick stats. In losses, the Celtics defensive rebound percent, 70.7. In wins, 73.4. So a pretty big split there. And the Celtics are 23-4 when the opponent shoots 35% or worse from three. So two big things for me. Rebounding, and the other team's got to make shots.
Okay. I love that. All right. I didn't do a statistical analysis of how to beat the Celtics, but my mantra is always, can you short circuit the Celtics offense? And that's obviously the Celtics of the past. The last couple of years that's been their downfall, has been especially late crunch time against Miami, game 4 against Golden State. That's been where the Celtics fall. It's like, if you can't stop them, this is why the Bucks have always struggled with this Celtics matchup, because they just don't have answers for the Jays on the wing. So for me, it's like, can you bring out the bad habits of the Celtics? Get them back into attacking bad matchups. Get them into turning the ball over a lot. That's how Miami has been able to beat them in years past. So that's the lens for me, the way I'm looking at it, as I look at which teams I'd prefer not to play, or which teams I would prefer to play as we go forward here.
Yeah, and I think like part of that too is like getting an offensive rebound, getting additional possessions, turning them over, short circuits the offense too, because it just keeps the ball out of the offense's hand, right? And I was surprised, actually. The turnover percentage is basically unchanged in wins and losses, but it's actually still pretty high. It's like over 12.5%. So they're gonna give you the ball, right? They're gonna give you extra possessions, and you gotta just get shots up on the other end when you're playing offense against this incredible elite Celtics defense, and attack the glass and make your shots. But frankly, there's just not a lot. Like, it's really hard to figure out ways how to beat this team, dude, because it seems like, especially with KP now, they just have answers for everything. And you're right, like short circuit the offense, but that's really hard to do with Porzingis.
Oh, so wait, on the turnover percentage, right? So 12.4 in losses, 12.6 in wins. Like that's good though, right? Like that's not
It's
not
pretty
a
good.
month. Like I think that's fifth in the NBA. From what,
Oh, it's
like,
fifth.
From what I'm,
Okay,
yeah,
all right. I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was like 10th.
Okay, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's fifth from
All
what
right,
I'm looking at
sweet.
right now. Because I'm pretty sure I looked at that recently, and I was like, okay, the turnover numbers are actually pretty good. So, but yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, the offensive rebounding. I can see PJ Tucker right now, just like grabbing offensive rebounds in that Miami series and flying in. And obviously, that's been an issue lately. I don't think I'm not super concerned about it long term, just because of the way they gang rebound and the teams that they play. I don't see it being a massive issue outside of potentially New York as an offensive rebounding team. But when they're locked in, they've been a really good defensive rebounding team. Still, they're at sixth on the season, and they're like mid-teens over the last kind of 10 games when it started to slip, which I think will come back.
Yeah, there was like a
All
3-week stretch there where they were like
Yeah.
25th in defensive
Yeah.
rebounding,
Yeah.
which is just effort. It's that crazy January schedule. Like, that's not a long-term issue. Everybody rebounds. Tatum's an incredible defensive rebounder for his position. Both the guards are really solid, and JB's a solid defensive rebounder. So I'm not super worried about that. I am always and will always be worried about like it's a tie game. You force a bad shot with 45 seconds left, and then they get the offensive rebound. But that happens to everybody, dude. That's not
everyone.
like a fault. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, look at the Timberwolves overtime win. Tatum misses the second free throw. Derek White comes in, gets a rebound, and we win. Like, and Jalen's been really good in like some clutch offensive rebounding moments as well. And I actually haven't had like offensive rebound percentage this year to last year. I don't know if that's changed that much. I know they're 18th this year. I don't know. It feels like Tatum's been doing a little bit more, where like he'll go in for like a floater or something, and he'll really fight to get the second miss. Lately, I would like to see that be something that they kind of maybe try a little bit in the playoffs as well. But all right, who wants the first pick here? We're gonna do this draft style of who we're most scared of, or who we're. I guess I'll ask you this: are you scared of anyone?
I feel like I'm going to think back when we get eliminated from the playoffs and like the Eastern Conference Finals and be like, I was such a dumbass for saying this, but not in the East. Not really, dude.
In the
I
East,
feel like
this
we
is
match
Eastern
up.
Conference.
Yeah, I feel like we match up with everybody really well. And a lot of these teams have some of the teams we'll talk about have some weird injury stuff going on.
Sure.
Or they're like young and haven't done it before, or they just have like really glaring weaknesses that you can exploit. And that's probably the best thing you can say about the Celtics is just like Tatum, and it flows from him being so versatile, having no weaknesses, that you just build a team around him that also has no weaknesses. So there's not anyone that I'm like, oh no, we got those dudes in the second round, we're screwed. How about you?
There's only one, and that's more of an existential.
Okay, you
universe.
take first pick.
It's still Miami to me, man. It's still Miami to me. And we're going to touch on everybody and why maybe they should be higher than Miami. And I went back and forth on this, but like, how do you get Miami, how do you get the Celtics, I mean, to do their dumb stuff? And I just don't see the personnel on like any of these other teams. I mean, the Knicks were going to get two defensively that I think can give the Celtics trouble as well with some guys. And you're doing this piece on Jaylen Brown's defense. And I don't think like the offenses of these other East teams, I don't like Jaylen Brown could be really elite defensively against simple offenses. Like Jalen Brunson's going to be pick and roll. It's going to be a lot of Giannis coming downhill. Like while we saw Jalen play awesome defense last year against the Sixers, it's like we know what they're doing. They're not good. Like Miami, what do? It's all the handoff stuff. It's cuts. It's guys flying around screens. It's really like efficient. It's complicated, and that's where Jaylen Brown can like get lost off ball. And like of the guys on the Celtics, he's really the only one where I have that concern. Aussie feel, Jake, that Miami's off our back. The monkey's off our back. It's not until we do it in the playoffs. Like we beat them in the regular season last year as well. And like looking at their stats, right? It's useless. On the season, net rating 18th. last 15 games, net rating 20th. It's like the same shit. Defense is top 10 though, 8th in the last 15, 8th on the season, and their offense is in the 20s again. It's like they have this ability to get hot. They have the types of shoot, like the offense, like whether it's Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler can kind of do his thing. I'm like, again, I'm with you. Like I really would be, I'd be confident going into a Heat series, but I just know the Spo Devil Magic, he's the only coach in the NBA really that I'm like, he can cook some stuff up. But with a healthy Porzingis, it's very clear that their weaknesses are going to be massively mitigated by having him, and like the Bam situation, like how destructive he can be. He's just really neutralized with Porzingis, whether it's Bam on Porzingis and the spacing concern, or the switching offense. And now if you're going to switch Bam onto Tatum or Jalen, they're like just not going at him. They're just going to throw it to the Latvian guy. It's like even on Bam, he's able to do it. So obviously health is a massive piece of all of this. But Miami for me still is the number one team.
Okay, so I don't necessarily disagree with Miami being number one. It's probably who I would have taken. If we see Miami, I want them in the first round for a couple of reasons. One, we won't have any playoff mileage on us at all. And I think that's part of why Miami's been so difficult to play these last couple of years. Is it's just always in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're running tight benches. Like that bubble year, we were going like 6.5 deep. They were worn down last year. I mean, Tatum rolls his ankle, and they just did some dumb stuff. But it's just like Miami beats you up. They play really physical, and after a 6-game series and a 7-game series, like that's really difficult to play. And I just want them to like get that monkey off their back immediately, not including the Cavs. Come on, Ben. We'll get to the Cavs, but but I think Porzingis just changes the calculus on both sides of the ball so much that I just think we match up so much better against them this year. And they've lost a lot of talent, man. Like Lowry, for his faults, is really annoying. He gets into passing lanes. He gets into your handle. He takes charges, and he makes big threes. He's gone. Vincent's gone. Max Strus is gone. And I know like they just pluck these guys out of like high schools somewhere or like G League teams, and they're like, oh, this guy's like a really solid role player. But that's a lot of very good NBA talent that's no longer on the team. I mean, Lowry was a shell of himself, so whatever. But compared to their team last year, and like their two best players need to score in the paint. And we've never, like, when Rob Williams is on like one leg, he's still like a good rim protector. But the one year we beat them was when we had a healthy Rob Williams. He could shut down the paint, and it stabilized
like half the series.
Yeah, for half the series, right? And even when you look at the on-offs against the Warriors, when we had like a halfway healthy Rob Williams, he's like a massive positive. So with KP's rim protection, I think that really limits a lot of what Bam and Jimmy can do, getting downhill, getting into the paint, and then we can just switch everything out on the perimeter. They're going to be tough. They're going to be difficult, but I think we could wrap that up in like 5 or 6. And I just think let's just get it over with in the first round and go from there.
So I don't necessarily disagree, but I think of the teams that like have the karmic ability to really do like go to another level, they to me are the team that can do it. But yeah, I don't hate the idea of playing them in the first round. I think this is the Eric Weiss theory as well. Yeah, right on cue here in the chat. How many times have the Celtics like done the thing, specifically last playoffs, where they like clearly weren't as focused as they should have been? Philly game 1 being maybe like the top of that list with no Embiid, and like Harden has that game winner. If they play Miami in game 1, you can guarantee they're going to be fucking ready to go, and they're going to be locked in because they know what this team can do. So that's like, and if they're locked in against Miami in a first round series when they're fresh and Miami's fighting every game, like in the lead up to the playoffs, you're going to have that advantage. So there's absolutely something to that as well. But yeah, again, it kind of goes back to like, I do think there's a world where the Celtics cakewalk the East. And if you're not in the Discord, we were just talking about this before we hopped on here. Like the Celtics right now are a tier above everybody else in the Eastern Conference on the season. First net rating, first. I didn't realize they'd moved into first offense offensive rating for the season because the Pacers have dipped a little bit because of the Halliburton injury. But like, they're first in the NBA in offense for the fucking whole season, dude. Like that's absurd.
Nuts. And we're not even shooting the three like that well. We're 8th from three this season. So like good, but not like, oh, well, they're shooting unsustainably hot from three. That's why they're the first offense. So yeah, like this offense is absolutely cooking, man. And KP just gives us so many options against the Heat defense. But should I pick my team here?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I'm between two. If you told me, if you're a Sixers fan for some reason watching this, if you told me Embiid was going to be 100% healthy, I would probably take the Sixers. I guess it's between three. Yeah. But that's why I'm not gonna pick them because I think even if he comes back, like I think I said it, a couple weeks ago, like he can't get in shape when he has an entire season to ramp up. There's no way this dude is gonna be in playoff shape if he has like 2 weeks to play before. So I think I'm gonna go with the Knicks. And I'm not like super worried about beating the Knicks. I think they'll be really annoying to play against. Like this is where the offensive rebounding really comes into play. Mitchell Robinson, Hartenstein, Josh Hart is a great rebounder for a guard too. Yeah. Like he's always crashing the glass. My guy Deuce McBride, I know he's gonna hit a couple like stupid
Isn't
big
he
threes.
Gone now?
No, Deuce is still there. They traded Quentin Grimes.
Grimes. That's right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Whoa. Yeah. Pump the brakes. Come on, my dude. Yeah, they're not trading Deuce. He's a foundational piece. But I just think like Brunson is probably good for a game where he basically just like hits a bunch of shots he has no business hitting. And I mean, we've talked about it a bunch. Neither of us believe in Julius Randle, but they got guys to throw at the Jays. They got Anunoby. They got Josh Hart, who like I don't think can stop the Jays, but if it's one of those like scuffy games where the refs let them get handsy and play extra physical, then he probably can do a decent job. Brunson's obviously great. And then, they got legit rim protection and we can attack that with KP. But if KP's like a little bit cold for a couple of games and they can just park Mitchell Robinson in the paint, I think they could give us some problems.
The Knicks were third on my list, so not far away here. I absolutely understand the concerns here. And obviously, OG Anunoby, the idea of him can be quite scary. What's great about this Celtics team is they've been really purposeful about not attacking the wrong matchup. And it's like, I understand, oh man, he could give Tatum trouble. Firstly, historically, Tatum's actually done pretty well against OG. Yes. Like, he hasn't been a guy that's given him a ton of trouble. I'm sure there'd be a game or two where he could give Tatum some trouble. No question, one of the best defenders in the world. But this team won't just attack OG Anunoby, Tatum ISOs. That's not going to be the offensive game plan. It's not going to go to that. I just have a hard time believing that a team led by a 6'1" guard as their best player is going to be the team that beats the Celtics. But again, going back to the lens of how do you beat the Celtics, the offensive rebounding, the defense. Like of the teams in the East that can really guard, the Knicks are the best outside of the Celtics, right? Like the Cavs statistically are always good, especially in the regular season. But if you have Garland and Mitchell, we're going to get to, and the Strus, like just not enough perimeter guys to really hang with the Jays. And then the rim protection. The thing I'll say about the rim protection, there are certain guys that Tatum is comfortable attacking as rim protectors, and some that he's not. And going back to the opening night with Mitchell Robinson, he had some really nice drives just attacking him. And he is a guy that he seems comfortable attacking. So, and again, as we're saying, we're not necessarily super scared of these guys, but I think having the Knicks high on this list, a team that can be really physical, the Celtics, not the toughest team ever. I think that's fair to say. And so like a team that's going to be coached by Tibbs, they're going to like just be insanely tough. So that's a great choice too.
Yeah, well, but also I think so the Knicks 6th best net rating this season, they're 5th in the last 15 games. I think that was like first or second for a while, and they've been hit with injuries the last like couple weeks here. But once they got OG, they really took off. They were like 15-1 at some point. But we have guards. So Brunson can really kill you in the mid-range against drop, which we obviously drop a ton with KP. but most teams don't have Derek White and Drew Holiday, and even kind of Pritchard's gotten pretty good at like getting over the screen, rear view contesting, or KP just comes up high enough to slow it down so he can't get a shot off. Then the guard comes back and recovers. So we just have the personnel to guard Brunson better than any team in the NBA, like full stop. And frankly, it's probably not that close. So yeah, I'm not really worried. I think it's like Heat and then a bunch of other teams that you could make a decent argument for it too.
Yeah, look, and if Brunson, like, is he going to really beat the Celtics over a series by going nuclear in the mid-range?
No.
Probably not. So these are the Brunson stats against the Celtics this season: 6 for 21 opening night, 10 for 21, pretty solid, and then 8 for 17. He's going to just have to be better than that to have a chance, right? And the Julius Randle piece of it, I mean,
bum.
I just don't.
He's
see
a bum.
I'm like scared because he's gonna hurt someone.
Yeah, he's gonna like ram Tatum into like the basket or something like that and knock him out. But yeah, other than that, no, Randall does not scare me. I can just picture like 7 step back threes that barely catch rim or something like that, as like Knicks fans are going ballistic on Twitter. But all right, next one. Is it? Are we doing snake draft, or we might as well go straight up. It's not like we're playing these teams are playing each other.
I say we can, but no, I think it's my turn here, and I was tossing up Knicks and this team, but the Bucks I have next, and I get that they're a disaster. I get it, but Giannis is a machine. Like, I don't think he's getting anywhere near enough credit for how insane he is this season. Like, he's covering up for so many issues. Dame has been bad, like injury stuff. They only have 4 players that can really start as like real, like contender level rotation guys. Like Crowder's their 5th guy on some nights. It's Connaughton, whatever. Giannis has been so good, and so just like when he's going to be clearly the best player in a series, and the Celtics guard him well. So like. And again, I'm not worried about the Bucks generally, but that's a guy that can go nuclear, is special, going to go down as like a top 20, top whatever guy of all time. But I mean, this is actually, this is probably a good time to cue this bad boy up. 1 second.
Sarah, I cannot believe.
The Bucks and Doc Rivers, man. I mean, dude, what a weekend for them, dude. I mean, I've got a tweet here from Dragonfly Jones. Babe, wake up. Doc Rivers said he doesn't even know why Milwaukee hired him. Then JJ Redick said all Doc does is make excuses. Then Austin Reeves defended Doc, who's his dad, but that was a bit of a surprise because they have a strained relationship. Then Marcin Gortat quote tweeted the JJ quotes with a check mark. It's just like, what is going on with the Bucks, dude? It's like every day Doc has a new quote about how like he didn't really want to coach the team. He's like, I really wanted to start coaching the team after the All-Star break. It's like, I thought this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And like, Doc has clearly his own coaching concerns, but I don't care who's coaching this team, dude. There's like real roster concerns with this team, and Giannis is papering over so much of it. And the irony of Dame winning the 3-point contest and the All-Star MVP amidst having like his worst season in a while, and looking like he is potentially cooked, is incredibly ironic. And then he has that viral tweet about naming his 5 favorite, his go-to starting 5, and leaves Giannis off the 5. That it's just like, it doesn't stop. And I think I've made the comparison. This team reminds me of the 18-19 Celtics. This reminds me of the Kyrie Celtics, the team that lost to the Bucks, ironically, in the second round, where like it was impossible to quit this team. Like every couple of weeks, the Celtics would have this monster win. Overtime W against the Raptors comes to mind, like Kyrie going head to head against Kawhi, and they win. They end up winning 48 games. But you just couldn't quit them because like they had the talent. They were so deep, and like all the warning signs were there. The vibes were terrible. It was clear that no one was happy. But then we had the beautiful kumbaya plane trip across to LA where Kyrie gave a speech, and that healed us for like a week or two. And like Nathan Marzion, the king of Bucks Twitter, came back at me and said the difference between this team is Giannis gives this team a higher floor and Dame's not Kyrie, whatever. It's like, well, Kyrie is actually a lot better than Dame.
That version of Kyrie is way better than this version of Dame, dude.
And that version of the Celtics was really deep, like 10 plus deep. Like this Bucks team is thin as hell. So all that to say, it sounds like I should have them a lot lower on my list here. But I still, with Giannis, I have them at 3.
Yeah, so I was, because of Embiid, and we just don't know what's doing. That's who I was picking between, was the Bucks and the Knicks. And I think you just have to. And like, look, I've been spending a lot of time on Bucks Reddit, and it is very fun. And
best,
like, dude, you're right. It's like the stuff they're saying about the team sounds exactly. I'm sure you could like verbatim find some Reddit quotes of me being like, "They'll put it together, man. Like, give them till the All-Star break to figure it out." And it's like just stopped. Like, it just stays the same the entire season. And you're right. Those tantalizing, like, they turned up against the Celtics. They looked like world beaters against the extremely tired Celtics team that didn't show up. But hey, like, Dame went off, man. Like, well, he could do that in a playoff series, but
they beat the Nuggets. Like, it's like they had their best win of the season. They blow out the Nuggets and they come back and they get blown out by the fucking Grizzlies. It's like
Memphis, yeah. Which was a very fun game to watch, man. Like, that was that fed me, man. So yeah, I just like, they don't. Who guards Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum on this? Like, Pat Connaughton and Jay Crowder, Chris Middleton. Yeah, Pat Bev, I guess, maybe. No. Like, Middleton has looked better than I anticipated offensively, but that dude is just not like a wing stopper anymore. Like, he's just not that guy defensively anymore. And the Jays kind of had their way with him a lot, even when he was 2 years younger in that run to the finals. I mean, they were crossing Middleton, not that year. Sure. That season, but not the playoffs, rather.
Yes.
Yeah. Every time he's played since. Yeah.
They've been cooking, like, even before the year that they beat the Bucks in the second round where Middleton didn't play. Like, all the games in the regular season, there's a stat that I love. It's like the last 17 games that the Celtics have played against the Bucks, the Celtics shoot like 39-40% from 3, and it's like, that's a monster sample size against one team, and that's like a variety of things. Now, it's one of those things where it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is why I don't want to play the Heat. It's like the Celtics have confidence against the Bucks. They know they can cook anyone out there. They're going to get open shots. Everybody knocks, like the game they lost in overtime where everybody sat last year, and like Derek White and Sam Hauser go to overtime, and they lose it. Grant Williams gets. Mike Muscala, Grant Williams gets a ball swung to him on the wing, wide open. He pump fakes and dribbles off his foot. They lose the game. But like that team, like, we just have confidence against that team. Sam Hauser gets the Wisconsin aura boost by being in his hometown on the road against those guys. But you're just gonna generate open threes against those guys, and the Celtics have confidence against this team to knock them down. But again, Giannis. So they're at 3 for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And yeah, like, Giannis should definitely be like even odds with Jokic and the MVP. Like, even defensively, he's covering up a ton for them too. Like, they got the 7th best defensive rating in the NBA. Like, there's no reason that team should be anywhere near top 10 on defense. So in the last
15. Just
in the
last
15.
Last 15.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I typed it wrong in the sheet. That's on me. I set you up for failure there.
That's all right. But even the fact that there's a 15-game sample size where their top 10 is absolutely ridiculous, dude. Like, there just shouldn't be that high. So Giannis has been everywhere. Yeah, he'd be the best player in the series, but it'd be a matter of like by how much, and I don't think it would be enough to overcome like the massive talent differential basically everywhere else. So, okay, before I take my next team, I think we got to jump into the FanDuel read here.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Boston and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Do you have
I'll
a bet
ask you
for
quickly.
us, Jake?
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
the Bulls Celtics line tomorrow is 7.5. Celtics favored.
Yeah.
Like the PTSD in me, and just like the emotional fan is like I don't want to touch it, but feels like a pretty nice spot for the Celtics to 7.5. Like coming out of the All-Star break.
Gonna be
good.
rested, gonna be hungry to whip some ass. Yeah, I like that a lot.
In theory.
Yes, in theory. They'll lay a turd, I'm sure. But so I like that. I would hit that up. So 7.5, not bad.
We're going to get to
Okay.
XT later, by the way. Everybody in the chat, Tillman, we're going to hit him after this little breakdown. Don't you worry.
we'll be there. Okay, so next, I think, man, at some point, is the specter of Embiid playing big enough that I take them over probably a team that's playing much better right now. I just don't think it is. I think I'm gonna take. This is correct. I think this is the first off the rails pick. I think I'm gonna take the Pacers, and here's why. We saw what can happen with insane shooting luck and insane 3-point shooting differential in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So I think if you play a series 100 times, the Celtics would win 90 times. But the Pacers have enough shooting. They play at a tempo that can make us uncomfortable because they play so fast. They got to stretch big that KP occasionally. I mean, Miles Turner doesn't scare me, but stretch bigs have given KP some fits at times this season. So, and I just think Halliburton, those crowds in Indy are going to be absolutely electric. He feeds off the crowd. And he can just make shots that you cannot defend because he's pulling up 32 feet from the basket, and you just can't get out on him. And he can have a game or a couple games like that. Can he have 4? Probably not. But I don't know, man. I think if I'm picking between the Cavs and the Pacers, I think just the randomness of the way the Pacers play basketball scares me more than the Cavs, where I know what I'm getting.
Wow, that's a great argument. I had not considered that because they were definitely low on my list here. I'm not sure I can quite get them this high, even with that.
It's fair. It's fair.
Because part of why the shooting variance in the Miami series fucked us was not only them going nuclear at 43.7%. Well, we shot 28% for the whole series. Yeah. And part of that is Miami's defense, making us uncomfortable. I don't think the Pacers can do that to us. So that's the difference, I think. So I can't have them that high, but I like that. I like that angle, and that has me a little more concerned, and maybe I might bump them up one slot in my list here. But yeah, I like that, but I just don't. They can't stop us, and so yeah. But yeah, that's now I'm slightly more scared than I was before.
If it's the fear rankings, right? Halliburton scares the shit out of me. Although I guess the Cavs have somebody that scares the shit out of me too. So, and I just think they're just really deep with a lot of different types of players, so they can go to different guys depending on and Siakam's good, man. He's a really good defensive player. The Celtics have always kind of owned him, especially.
What's funny is that he is really good, but we cook him. And then Drew now has some awesome defensive highlights with him on the Pacers. That's the perfect guy for Drew. Is a guy that's a little taller, a little bigger, but not quick. It's poor Siakam, dude. It's just the Celtics torture him wherever he goes.
He's the perfect guy for Jalen too, because he doesn't fly off screens and catch and shoot. He just tries to get you down in a stance and beat you one-on-one. And Jalen's taking his cookie. It's bullying at this point with Jalen Brown.
Yeah, he's absolutely. It just goes back. Yeah, back to the bubble. And once that, again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's Jalen believes it, Siakam believes it, and then next thing you know, he's back to his career taking a 2-year dip because of that series again. I like it. I'm not sure I can go with them above. And this is where it's like Cavs Sixers for me. It's like, okay,
Yes.
where it's, I think I got to go Sixers, like on the chance that Embiid comes back healthy and he like peaks at the right time for the first time in his life, where it's like he comes back with 5 weeks before the playoffs and like he looks like shit for the first like 2.5, 3 weeks, but then right into the play-in, I don't know, that we'd be pretty unlucky for them at that point because if he looks really bad in the 7-8 for him to actually lose and then win the next one. But I think the Sixers peak Embiid, that's a scenario, again, like similar to the Giannis thing, where that's a player that can be very dominant. But I still like the Celtics, even with a healthy Embiid. Like, yeah, in the chat here, Sixers don't scare me at all. Celtics just own them. They didn't do anything at the deadline that I was worried that they would do. Like, Buddy Hield absolutely helps their offense in a vacuum. But, like, what are you going to do? Play Maxey and Buddy Hield at the same time against the Celtics? Good luck, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you're like sitting Melton down. Okay, thank you. I think Melton's a better player than Buddy Hield is, like just straight up. So, yeah, I like that's who I was thinking about going with instead of Indy. I just, wanted to spice it up a little bit, but they don't scare me just because I just don't trust Embiid to be peak Embiid by the time the playoffs roll. He'd have to come back like next week, I feel like, for me to really be scared. But there was a report he was at practice today, whatever the hell that means.
Whoa.
So probably in a suit watching, but whatever. Sweatsuit watching, but whatever. So I like Hield. I kind of does nothing for me because obviously it helps the offense, but he really undermines their defense. Like Batum looked actually really
Massively.
good defensively against us, and
I'm
now,
so much
like,
more concerned with Batum.
Yeah, right. So they just have like a really weird team where it's like, other than Batum, all their wings have these like insane strengths and insane weaknesses. And again, it just goes back to the Celtics not really having any weaknesses you can pick at, and then they can exploit your weaknesses on both ends of the floor. So, and I don't know, is a 38-year-old Nick Batum going to be the guy that gets the Sixers to like the Eastern Conference Finals finally? Probably not. And then like Melton's great, but like Maxey, Hield, Tobias Harris, like as your kind of defensive line, it doesn't really do much. That's not moving the needle for me at all. And since Maxey's like incredible start, he's just been like really good instead of like elite guard. And so like he was terrifying when this season first started, but he tends to struggle against the Celtics anyway. Again, it's kind of like Brunson. We just have so many different guys. We can switch everything. We got a ton of guys we can throw at him. So, I think 5 is probably about right for the Sixers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And as you was talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm not scared. And again, go back to our overall point here. Not really worried about anybody, which is kind of what keeps coming up here. We got to go Cavs at this point, I think.
Definitely.
Like, and they could be tough. Like, but we played them with no Mobley, which is interesting. And like that was like when they played really well. Mobley came back in the middle of their hot stretch. They ironically lost to the Embiidless rookie council Sixers. Like Sixers were missing everybody, and they almost lost to, I'm forgetting who, but they almost lost another one like late. So it looked like they started to cool off a little bit.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Memphis,
I think it was
so.
Memphis.
It
Oh,
was okay. Yeah,
I think it was, but but like Mitchell, like he's just can go nuclear on you, and then they have some rim protection, but like the lack of perimeter defense for them, and then they if they're gonna play Allen and Mobley, I know Mobley has like started to hit a couple of threes lately, but
in a
like
series,
we're talking like we're talking about 5-game, 10-game sample size randomly for someone that can't really shoot at all. Even the free throws aren't great. So I just like from a Celtics defense perspective, that team I think you can really start to scheme against, which is what they ran into against the Knicks last year. And if you can't score on the Celtics, then good luck.
Yeah, and I think if this was like, hey, we're playing this team tomorrow in a regular season game, the Cavs might be number one for me, honestly. But I think going back, like, yeah, you can just scheme around them on both sides of the ball, too, especially with our personnel and the fact that we have two bigs that can shoot. Like, Mobley will probably be like an elite perimeter defender as he ages and gets a little smarter, but he's just not right now. Jared Allen, great rim protector. You can get him out and take advantage of him out on the perimeter. And the fact that we have pull-up shooting against their drop coverage. Like, if Tatum's pull-up is going, this is going to be a very short series. And yeah, like, Karis LeVert, like, he had those goofy games against us. I just don't think that's the type of stuff that happens in the playoffs, you know?
Yeah, we've come out the other side on the Karis LeVert bullshit.
Yeah. Right, yeah, exactly. And Strus, nice player, doesn't have the black magic anymore. You know, he'll make some threes. He'll have some defensive possessions where he looks okay, and then he'll have some where he completely gets dusted. So, you know, nice team. I honestly, if you told me Garland wouldn't play at all in the series, I might be a little more afraid of them. And I love Darius Garland, but he's just such a terrible fit next to Donovan Mitchell, man. Like, if I'm the Cavs, I'd rather just like, let's go big. Let's have Mitchell have the ball in his hands for, you know, 70 possessions or whatever, 50 possessions. He does everything for us, and we just attack teams like that. But with Garland, it just undermines their defense so much. So Cavs are a great team. They got something there. I just like don't love how it all fits together.
It's funny, like, no one would trade Darius Garland for Derek White or Drew Holiday, but like the Cavs would be so much better if you replaced Darius Garland with Derek White, just from a defensive perspective and being like that secondary guy. Whereas like as good as Garland is, like they didn't need more on the other end of the court. All right, we got a question here. What about Orlando? They're lost, it feels like, for both of us.
Yeah, the jig is up with Orlando, man. It's up for them beating us. It just is.
So, like, looking at their numbers and stuff, on the season, 15th best net rating. Last 15 games, 14th best net rating. Offense on the season, 24th, 18th last 15. On the last 15 games, defense has slipped to 11th, 5th on the season. If you have a unit that's like in the 20s, you're not winning a playoff series against
It's over.
anyone, let alone the Celtics. And so before this, I was like, I think I would rather play the Pacers than the Magic, but you've convinced me to flip that. And like,
All right.
There's going to be no shooting explosion from the Magic. That's not happening. And so, like, give me the team that's just not going to be able to score against the Celtics. I know that goes against my core tenet of being a team that can defend and kind of short circuit the Celtics offense. I don't think it matters when their offense can be so bad.
And like they are a regular season defense to me too. Like they're relying on Batatse a lot. Like we can play him off the floor. Wendell Carter is great, and he can switch a little bit, but like he can't guard Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown out in space. He probably can't even stay in front of Derek White out in space. And Paulo, he's just like really. I have Paulo and Franz Wagner on my fantasy team, so I check out a lot of Orlando. Like. He's not a great defensive player either. And like those two, it's just like something's off with them on the offensive end, man. It's like they both want to operate in each other's space, and it's kind of your tourney, my tourney. And like they'll get into pick and roll together and stuff, and that's kind of fun. But most teams just like, okay, we'll just switch it because our 3 and 4 are on you guys anyway. So like this changes nothing. So, yeah, their offense is just it's like painful to watch at times, dude. Like it is really rugged. But they'll play hard. To me, the Magic have like maybe a higher floor than Indy, but like a way lower ceiling.
Yeah, Paolo. He started like the season kind of hot shooting from 3, but he like above 40%. But then it's definitely dropped off. I'm just kind of like checking the last 15 games from Paolo here. But it's on just smaller volume. Like He's got some of the worst pull-up shooting numbers in the league when they start popping up. Like he was kind of a fake all-star too. Like Porzingis probably should have made the all-star game over Banchero as well. But yeah, that's a good call. I think higher floor game to game, just purely because of the defense. But these guys are probably at the top of my list of who I want to play in the first round. Them and the Pacers. But Yeah, I like it.
Franz is shooting 32% from three. That like his shot has kind of
They can't
disappeared
shoot.
too. No, and like Suggs is shooting the ball well, but like Paulo, it's on tiny volume, man. They just have like nobody that compromises your defense from a spacing standpoint. So like, get them out. Once we beat them back to back and like handled them
Yeah.
in that little homestand, I was like, okay, monkeys off the back. Orlando does not worry me at all.
Yeah, we were like, okay, we finally understand that we need to take you guys more seriously than we've been taking the Pistons and the Hornets. And as soon as
Yeah.
they did that, they blew them off the court like 2 games in a row. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm not too worried about them. All right, so I guess like to wrap this part of it up is like, my question to you, we're talking about in the Discord, is do you think the Celtics can cakewalk the East? Do you think the Celtics should cakewalk the East? Because, like, I don't think they should play a 7-game series. They probably will play one. But, like, as it stands right now, like, obviously some things can change between now and the playoffs. I don't see why they would go 7 against anybody in the East.
Yeah, so is like if they go 6-6-6, is that a cakewalk? It's probably pretty close. That's a cake stroll, maybe not a cake walk, but a cake jog or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you on like no 7-game series. Yeah, I it's hard to see how, like, other than the Celtics just imploding and short circuiting, which they absolutely can do. We know they can do that. Like, you know, if you're looking at your first round series is going to be like the Magic, then maybe like the Bucks, and then the Knicks. Like, you should probably that should be 4, 5, 6 at Yeah, I mean, like, they probably, if they continue to play the way they've been playing this entire regular season, they will cakewalk the East. And I think they're going to win a championship, but playoff ball is just a little bit different. I don't really have the questions about Joe, but I think you could say like they run into the wrong team, the wrong coach, like he could get out coached a little bit. So I think they probably should cakewalk the East. Like, none of these teams really can match up against them.
That's the thing. Like, they probably play one 7-game series just because that's like the nature of the playoffs, but they really shouldn't. They really fucking shouldn't, man. Like, yeah, 6-6-6 would be fine. When we would all be freaking out after the first round 6-game series, but
Yeah, dude.
like, I
Against
have
the
no doubt.
Magic, take
'Cause, like,
us to 6.
yeah,
That'd be
of course.
terrifying.
Yeah, which we're like, oh, here we fucking go again, which could easily happen. Like, in small sample sizes, but like, I'm trying to look at it objectively and not let last year's team and the teams previous color this year's team. And like, this year's team is so much better. Like, if this team is in the 22 finals against the Warriors, they win that series in 5 or 6. Like that, like, and as you said, the Rob Williams numbers, when he was on the court, they won those minutes. If Porzingis plays in that series, they win. That's not even counting the growth of Tatum and Jalen from 2 years ago. So it's like, they're so much better than that team was 2 years ago, and better than the team last year, like, easily, statistically, eye test, emotionally. Like, you pick the way that they're better, and they're better at it. Offense, defense, like, consistency, crunch time offense, diversity of offense, diversity of defense, even health. Like, you take like Brogdon and Rob versus Porzingis is really the only health risk on the team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
look, this team is so much better. The East is worse. The East is
Yes.
worse. So it's like, we should win easily. But I understand playoffs, etc. But like, I think we should.
yeah, man. I mean, frankly, there's not a lot of teams. I guess the Clippers and the Nuggets are probably the 2 teams out west that really scare me. But I think that Clippers, that was just a shitty game. It happens, you know.
The West scares me way more than anyone in the East. Like, all 4 of the teams, really.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, even if OKC was in the East, they would be my number 1 for sure. Like, easily number 1. So, yeah, man. I just like it. I just keep getting this feeling that this is the year, dude. And like, I feel like I've generally been like, it's more likely than not they lose. Like, let's not go crazy. Even when we were in the finals, it's like Golden State's a great team. Like, I'd try not to get too high. But man, this just, it feels like everything's kind of fallen into place for them. And like the fit with KP, you're right. He's just revolutionized their offense in such a sustainable way. Whereas before, it was like, okay, if the shots aren't falling, maybe you get Tatum getting downhill, but he can't always do that. And, in the playoffs, it's harder. They let a lot more contact go. So, yeah, man, like if they roll to the finals and lose in the finals, it might be over for me. Like I might just have to quit all content and I just might be done. Like if they go like sweep 5 games and lose in the finals, dude, like I'm just it's over. I'm logging off.
If they do cakewalk the East, you got to feel pretty good because I think the teams in the West are going to just destroy each other. Like the West is so much deeper. Like the Nuggets run was pretty light, but the West is way better. And again, a lot can change. The Clippers could get not healthy, and that's very possible. So we'll see. We'll quickly touch on this one, then we'll hit Tillman in the game tomorrow. But Tatum, you mentioned Tatum. Windhorst had this weird thing about Tatum and the MVP stuff and people holding against him in the finals. I don't. Do you buy any of that? Like Tatum was 4th in MVP voting last year and 6th the year before that, the year they actually went to the finals. But like, he's been back-to-back first-team All-NBA. He's like in the 5th, 6th range, 7th range max on MVP polls right now. I actually don't believe that from Windy at all. Like, I don't think that he hasn't been a top 3 player in the league this year so far.
Yeah, I don't think like the media holds that against him, but I think fans of other teams have so little to latch onto when they're trying to hate on Jason Tatum that's like the last thing that he's done poorly that you can be like, see, this guy sucks. He was bad in the finals. Actually, if you look at his stats, like he basically just couldn't finish at the rim, and that was it.
Wasn't that
like,
bad? Yeah.
No, he was averaged like 27 and 7. Yeah, the turnovers were bad. And the 2 games we won, he had 2 turnovers in both games, and then he didn't have a game below 4 after that. So ouch, that kind of sucks. But so no, I don't think people like if you're having a serious discussion with someone, I don't think they're holding that against him at all. And I think most people recognize he's gotten considerably better since then, maybe on both sides of the ball, honestly. But if you're interacting with Milwaukee trolls and Sixers trolls, that is the first thing you're going to hear. So does like the dregs of the fandom hold it against him? Yes, but who gives a shit what they think anyway? So yeah, I think Windy, he got to, it's All-Star break, man. He's got to whip up some chaos, some content. I respect it, I guess.
So where would you have Tatum in the MVP right now? Like Jokic, Giannis, Shea, I feel are pretty tight at 3. I think I probably have Tatum at 4 right now. Yeah.
I'd easily have him over Luka. I'm getting to the point with Luka where I think he's overrated just because he puts up massive counting stats. And like, I know the offense is pretty and he's amazing, but like, dude, everybody leaves his team and gets better. And like, like Jalen Brunson's like a star now. KP looks amazing. Grant Williams is like banging threes and playing defense. And like, watch him if you catch a Mavs game, just focus on Luka on defense. Watch him play defense. It is embarrassing, dude. So give me Tatum. Kawhi is the guy that it's like, I don't know where you put him, but Tatum's stats are better than Kawhi, really. And he's going to play, and he's playing more.
Kawhi has the efficiency over Tatum, but like Kawhi's 25, 6, and 3, and Tatum's like 28, 8.5, and 5 now. So like, he's definitely, and by the end of the season, he's probably going to end up having like 10 games played more than Kawhi. So that's the one guy that might keep Tatum off first team All NBA. But otherwise, like he's a lock for a second team, but probably first team as well. All right. Celtics are back tomorrow. Celtics Bulls. Biggest news of the day. Xavier Tillman, the X-Man. X gonna give it to you. Off the injury report. No, I tweeted like 5 minutes before it came out. I need the NEB injury report. He's Xavier Tillman probable. And he's just off the injury report completely. So we're living life. The X-Man's back tomorrow. I'm assuming he's going to play. Like, but what are your expectations? Do you think he's going to get in there?
Yeah, I think you give him like the Luke Cornett minutes, like, assuming everybody's healthy, which I think everyone is other than Springer. I think he gets like 8-10 minutes. I think that the cool thing about Tillman is Joe has been forcing these like Cornett, Al Horford minutes, which has just like been terrible. X can play with Al Horford on offense. You can have Horford spacing out to the corner, and then you can run pick and roll with Tillman in the short roll, and like he's really, really good about that. In that, I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in 3-Leaf Clover. Like he is an awesome passing big man, for position, and defensively, like him and Al can switch a little bit. Certainly, they can switch better than him and Luke Cornett can. So, I don't see why you don't. I don't think he's going to come in and play 25 minutes a night. There will be games where he does when KP or Al's out, but yeah, I mean, look, you got a new toy, man. You got to play with it, right?
Well, yeah, well, we know we have with Luke Cornett, good player, great third big, but if he's legitimately off the injury report, like the Luke Cornett minutes, as you said, like 12 minutes would be kind of a bigger night considering everybody's healthy. So like, let's give those minutes to Tillman and start experimenting and start to see what he can do. Yeah, I love that idea. Like the Al, Tillman, that should be the switch everything lineup probably. Like if you still want to have some size and have rebounding and stuff like that could be really, really dangerous. I was just going back and looking at like random Tillman games because I think it's better to look at the 22-23 season as opposed to this season, obviously, when it comes to the Grizzlies. And he had a game against the Warriors. I'll post it on Twitter later, but like had 14, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals against like Dre, Steph, Clay, and they won by double digits in that game. And like just looking at the highlights from that game, like the floater stuff, the passing is definitely there. But then I went back and I looked at his numbers over the past couple of years because some of like the conventional field goal percentage stuff that people have been throwing out there is like bad. I've seen like the 41% field goal or whatever. But you go back and look at the last 2 seasons and I'm like, okay, 22-23 season when the Grizzlies were good, restricted area, 71.3% on 174 attempts. Very good. Non-restricted area paint, 51.4%. That's nice
That's
floater.
Really
that's
good.
really good floater numbers. Really good floater numbers. That's on 105 attempts. You go back a year previous in the restricted area, 60.4%. Not as good, but still like fine. 96 attempts. But again, the more important thing to me, the non-restricted area paint, 47.3 on 55 attempts. So 2 years sample size of him being like a 50% floater range guy. And he's going to get the ball. We've been talking about Tatum in the short roll, like Tatum pick and rolls, Derek Wright pick and rolls, finding Tillman in those spots. And then he can either play make out of that or he could be legit, just hitting those floaters. And like, I think we might be underselling the offense a little bit. Obviously, this is the best time to raise our expectations and hopes and dreams. And then he goes like 0 for 5 tomorrow. But I don't know. I think the offense could be a little undersold at this point.
Yeah, he's a good screen. Like, dude, he is a wide dude,
bone crusher.
man. Like, he can set a monster screen on people, and he is not afraid of... Tatum does his little push with the screen. Like, Tillman will lay your ass out with a screen, which, like, we love it. That's part of why Luke has so much value to this team, because he actually sets good, strong, firm screens. So that'll be excellent. The short roll stuff, it's just going to be there always. Like, that's just going to be... That part of the paint is wide open all game long against the Celtics. KP eats from there, but like Tillman's not going to share the floor with KP that much. Like, we don't need him to space out to the corner. He's like, for his 10-12 minutes a night, he's going to be in the short roll and he's going to be making plays. And like, I didn't realize the non-restricted area was so consistently good. Like, I think Tatum's like low 40s in non-restricted area.
He's like 37.
Yeah. Oh, is that bad? Yeah. So like that, like 50, flirting with 50% is like ridiculously good. So that's a legitimate weapon. The one thing I hate bigs who can't shoot free throws, and he cannot shoot free throws, dude. It's painful. So you might see some like hack a Tillman here just to get Joe back for being like the only guy who still does it. But we might be underselling the offense a little bit. Like, dude, his passing is legit, and there's a lot of people to pass it to on the Celtics. So I think he's going to be a seamless fit, man. Brad done it again, dude. He's done it again for nothing.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, we're all pumped. Celtics back tomorrow. The X-Man. I know like X gonna give it to you. The X-Man. That's kind of X-Man. I don't know. Like those are the kind of the nicknames that he's picked up from the Grizzlies. If you're a listener of First to the Floor, you know we love to come up with ridiculous names for dudes. So I'm sure we'll come up with something soon. Maybe it's just one of the X-Men's name, like not just X-Man, but like, is it Wolverine? Is it Storm, etc.?
Cyclops.
Cyclops. Yeah, something to percolate for everybody out there over the next couple of days here. But Spoonie, man, good to see you. Good to be back talking C's.
Yeah.
Playback tomorrow. Me and Ben will be live. I haven't spoken to you about that yet. I know it's an early one, so that can be tricky for you. But tomorrow, playback, get back in there, everybody. And then me and Ben will be doing late night tomorrow as well. Celtics are back. This is the push, fellas. We got less than 30 games left. Let's do this. All right, everybody, go Celtics.
I love the Celtics!